Hello, I am Micah Wolf with FOAB and 9185 Robotics. This is part 5 of our video series on using Pros 4.1 and Easy Template 3.1 to jumpstart your programming journey through VEX Robotics. In this 5th video, I'm going to be showing how I set up my Auton files, best tune the drive PID functions available in Easy Template, and how to create and add additional autons to your autons file and to the auton selector. On Easy Template's website, under their Getting Started tab, there is pages for using the autonomous selector, adding autonomous routines, and example autonomous routines. I highly recommend reading through these pages and understanding the content on them before you start coding your own autonomous routines for competition and for skills. I'm going to be explaining what I can throughout this video, but I highly recommend, again, go to the website, read especially the example autonomous routines to really understand the full capabilities you have with Easy Template. That being said, this is the autons.cpp file. This is the first time we're looking at it in this video series. In the example project, you have some constant integers that are set up at the top here for drive speed, turn speed, and swing speed. Those are out of 127, and these can be adjusted based on your comfortability running your robot at a certain speed or a desired speed going through. This doesn't mean you have to use drive speed. You can input number directly into the function for your drive PID, but this just helps speed it up if you need to slow down your Auton or speed up all of it all at once. Default constants, this is where you're going to input your PID values for your drive, your swing, turn, your exit conditions. So these are the values that the PID uses to do its calculations and move your robot and get it accurate. In the example project, there are quite a few example autons, and reading through these, again, just like on the web page, can be really helpful to understand the different commands you have, like PID wait, drive set, turn set, swing, max speed max set, wait until. So there's a bunch of different commands and functions in here you can utilize. And you can add your own autonomouses, which is what I'm going to show now. But with the ability with Easy Template to tune PID with your controller, one of the things I recommend to our teams is to create a bunch of autons that are just there to help you tune PID, so you don't have to keep re-downloading autonomous routines for tuning your PID for your drive. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to go ahead and start by getting rid of all of these examples, just like this. And I'm going to get rid of that comment. Now, there's 3 places you have to adjust your autons. It's in your autons.cpp, your autons.hpp. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these autons also. And then it's also in your main.c file is where your auton selector is. As you can see, all of these are giving me a red line. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those also. So now I have no autons coded. The auton will do nothing because there's nothing there for it to utilize. I'm going to start by copying and pasting in the preset of autons that I personally used for FOAB to tune our PID. I'll also provide those in the description. I would highly recommend adjusting them for your needs or how you're comfortable tuning your PID, and I'll talk through them here in a moment. So we're going to start in the HPP file, and I'm going to grab this here. I call these tuner autons, because essentially all I use them for is tuning the robot. So I have drive 48 inches, drive 96 inches. We drive 248 inches and then back, drive 296 inches and then back. I turn 90 degrees, I turn 180 degrees, I turn 360 degrees, and then I turn back to 0. And then Those are the autons I use to tune PID. Again, those can be adjusted, and there may be different recommendations on the website, but that's what I found has worked for FOAB. And what those look like, so if we go into our autons.cp file, autons here. So that's what these look like. So drive 48, it just drives 48 inches and waits for it to finish, and then it ends. And then you can see the drive, I go 48 inches forward and then backwards 48. It's pretty much the same thing all the way down. Now, what I do is I leave these just in here, and then I create my additional autons. I leave these at the bottom, and I create my additional autons for matches and skills between these two, and I'll go over that in a moment. The last thing you need to do to have access to these inside when you're tuning your PID using your controller in the brain without having to re-download a bunch of times is you need these available in the Auton selector. So what that's going to look like is I'm just grabbing it here. So I have them commented out most of the time because when you're at competition, I don't need to be confused by having 30 autons available to me when I'm setting it up at a match. But when I am going to tune PID, I do just comment that out or uncomment that. And in the Auton selector, I now have all of my autons and I have a quick description of their name. If I were to get rid of this, like this, when I'm going through the Auton selector, this does not have a name. You would not be able to tell what Auton you're running. So it's very important to put a little descriptor in there for your Auton so you know which one you're running. So those are the autons. Again, I'll have these available in the description, but those are the autons I use to help tune my PID. Adjust them based on your needs and how you're comfortable tuning PID. If you want a tutorial on tuning PID, there is one available on Easy Template's website. Tuning constants, PID constants, and it goes through the whole step-by-step process and does some explanation of how it works. So this is a really good read. It may be a video I do in the future, but as of right now, I would recommend just using the website. So now I'm going to show you how to create your own autons and add them back in. And again, doing this with practice will get you much better at it. A lot of new programmers will forget to put it in one of these 3 spots, or you'll misspell something. So just doing it and practicing it is the best way to learn it and get it down. So I'm going to actually start. I always recommend starting in the HPP file because if it's not here, it won't work anywhere else. So I'm just going to create a function, which is essentially what we're doing. It's an auton. We call it an auton, but it's essentially just a function. So void, I'm going to call this a test auton. So its name is just test. And I normally put that at the top. So if I'm creating a brand new auton, I don't have to click through the Auton selector at all. And I can just go ahead, download it, and start running it as soon as I turn on the brain and run the robot. So I have test, void. I'm also going to create a red left side. I guess it's mirrored now. So this would just be left side. Then space. Then we're going to create a right side. Then let's say we have a solo win point. Then finally skills. And the advantage to doing it this way is that you can have all these autons in one programming slot on the brain. You don't have to switch programming. You know, you just start that one program every time and you just have to select it using the Auton selector. So now that I have these in my HPP file, I'm going to go to my CPP file. I'm going to give some space here, add those in. Again, this is just squiggly brackets, just like that. Anything I want to run, I put between the squiggly brackets. And I would recommend adding in comments using double slashes based on what each one does. So a quick description. So let's say solo win point, for example, I would say For this year, it would be scores 3 rings on Alliance, Stake, and Logo. Touches ladder. That would be a good comment just so I have an idea of what that does. As you add to this, you may need to adjust the names if you have multiple solo win points, depending on how you're setting up your robot. But once you add it here, you still can't use these autons yet because they're not available in your auton selector. So it's important to show you how to do this in a moment. It's important to go into your main file and add these autons. So all that is auton, parentheses, quotation marks. First one is test, and actually you can adjust what order they go in. So I'm actually going to put left side first, and then I'm going to put test at the bottom. Comma. And then copy and paste. Now this, normally, if I don't change anything, would put left side in there 4 times on your auton selector. Right. Again, you can make these descriptions much longer. They don't have to be so short. Whatever works best for you and your team. Solo point. And finally, skills. And I'm going to add in my test, but I'm going to put it further down in the auton selector so I don't accidentally select it for matches. So this is test. And test. Just like that, I've added 5 autons for me to create my auton routines in and test in. And then I additionally have these tuner autons that I use for tuning PID if I ever need to quickly tune PID and don't want to worry about having to go back through everything and download it a bunch of times. I already have those autons created, so that's one of my best tips with Easy Template is create those tuner autons and then just comment them out for competition time. Or you don't have to, you can leave them active. I just find that it's better to make it easier on your drive team if they're not available and they can't mess it up in that way. You can do the same thing for test if you don't want your drive team to have access to it during competition. Just comment it out here in the auton selector and you can leave it alone in the other 2 files. So that is everything with how I set up my drive PID tuning autons and how I recommend doing it just for that ease of use. Or if you need to quickly retune your turn, for example, at a signature event or something like that, this can be a great way to speed up that process.